I'm ChosenArchitect, and this is Stoneblock 4. Yes, another day here on the Stoneblock 4 world, and we've got progression to get through. But what progression, you may be asking? Well, last episode, we set off into this Hyperion questline, and we ended up figuring out that there were two new people, Chaos and Radiance, and also an Infinity, which we'll get into later. But as of right now, I've got these two complex quest lines to work my way through. And I say complex, but one is really more complex than other. For example, Radiance wants you to get into particle acceleration, making neutronium, making antimatter, and also milking a chicken, which we'll get into very, very soon. But I was thinking this one might seem quite nice to get done as well. And this is the path for the awakened draconium. Now, this is going to prompt us with several new things, but we are really going to need an awakened chicken, and we are going to need some of these right here, awakened draconium blocks. And I'm also going to need to technically make this energy ball. It will allow us to have unlimited energy storage within our base, and that would be fantastic. Oh, and also we are going to have a giant energy cube down in the world engine. Is it energy cube? No, it's an energy sphere made of cubes. But yeah, essentially I'm going to need two of those. And so, knowing that I needed more space, I have expanded the rooms yet again. Except this time I don't have those empty hollow rooms on the side filled with living trees, because I don't think that is going to fit this theme very well. Instead, I'm going to come up with some other solutions potentially for these rooms. But I do need to figure out which side are we doing Draconic in. Yes, I mean, it's going to be Draconic, but we can have other things in the room too. And I don't know about you, but I don't know. The west side just sounds really like Draconic. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like the Wicked Witch of the West. I don't know, but like west sounds good. Now, it does look like getting started with Draconic by making the fusion crafting core is going to be not super expensive, but it does require you to have some replication, or thankfully we can just craft this on demand. You know, thanks to the replication that we set up last episode. Now today we'll also be diving into several other things. For example, to be able to make this dragon heart, or at least make the first dragon heart, because it is replicatable, we are going to need to get in and actually make a life stone. We also need to make infused dragon's breath, which does require us to upgrade our current enchanting system just a little bit. And we do need fiery blood, which I believe we already have. Now, thankfully, we don't have to worry about automating any of that. We just simply need to make our single dragon heart, and then we can duplicate them. And that's why we set that whole thing up last episode. Yeah, all the replication stuff. Oh, and look at that. The fusion crafting core is now ready to go. So now that we have this, I do want to go ahead and get some of the injectors set up. And I think, I mean, I should probably look through the list and see like what's the max amount that we're going to need for any given setup. And it looks like that's going to be 12. Yeah, so we're going to need at least 12 of these Draconic fusion injectors. Now, the setup for this isn't that crazy. We really just want to place this like one block up off the ground, and then we can go out several blocks. So I'm going to go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can line this up maybe right here with the lights. I think that is a good distance away. And I'm just going to stack them like this. So that way we have our 6 on this side, and I'll do the 6 on the other. And we're also going to need to get power into all of these. So I could use some gates, or we could switch things over. I think I'm going to use some gates for right now. And I think these tier gates would be fine. Doing some nitro gates would be even better. But at this lower tier, it's not going to really matter, and they're going to get broken off when we break these anyways. And the reason we're going to be breaking them is because I have to upgrade this immediately to the draconium tier. And I'm going to show you a little neat trick that we can actually do to get this up and running. To make this super easy so we don't have to do any automating or anything at the moment, we just need to pull all of these items out of our system. And so make sure we have at least 12 worth of every single one of these items. So for example, we know we need 2 of those, so 12 times 2, that'll get that started, 24, and then diamonds and all of that fun stuff. We can just keep a stack in our inventory at the moment. Then we need draconium blocks, and we're going to need like 12 of those. So look at that. I think that's just about everything that we're going to need for this. And so I can break one of these that I just placed, hop into the system here, and then just click on this and click the move button. And that is actually going to send a single craft and make this really easy for me to get set up. I mean, look at this. That is, it's already working. Now, the process of it being kind of slow, I don't think is limited by the gates themselves. It's just the fact that these infusers have a limited power throughput rate. So you are limited by the injectors. So the higher tier you go, the faster this goes. So perfect. We now have this one, and we just need to rinse and repeat this same process. And I'm just going to keep swapping them out and replacing them as I go. Something I will note, after it is done with its charging phase, you can actually accelerate it. And it doesn't accelerate the charging rate, but it will accelerate the crafting time, because there actually is a crafting time after this gets all the way up. So we're almost there, and we'll see that. Oh, maybe. I don't know why it's stuck at charging. Unless there is some weird issue. Oh, I didn't put a gate on here. Never mind. There we go. So yes, it's going to finish that up, and there may be enough time for the craft to happen. And no, I'm going to have to re-accelerate it, but there it goes. You can see the acceleration happens really fast. Goodness, I need to not forget that. And so after a few minutes, I've got them all upgraded to at least the Wyvern core level. But this isn't where this is where it stops. It's going to continue and a bit more. But I will say, thankfully, after you get all of this done and you at least get to this tier, upgrading to the next tier uses the world engine, which does look like it is significantly quicker, and it is going to be a lot easier, as you just need to dump the items in here and not do this thing over and over again. So now let's again take a look at our heart recipe. Okay, so there's some things that we need to definitely look at here. So I do need to upgrade my Apothic enchanting setup just a little bit to be able to get enough to be able to infuse and make infused dragon's breath. But I also need ether gas. And that means we're going to have to milk the wither. And so you know what? This might be a good use for maybe one of these rooms, or maybe even opening it up an area back here. And we could put, I don't know, maybe a wither back here, and also enclose it just to make sure it's safe. Nah, that's not me. I'm going to risk the biscuit, and I am just going to build it right here. But I am going to enclose the wither just in case. And we're also going to change up our power system just a little bit. So now that we can replicate the good old Flex networks, let's create a new network. And I'm going to define it here on this ender cell. And I want to use this currently as our like power backup and buffer. And I should be able to pull power directly from the ender cell up to a limit of 2 million RF per tick throughout a total network by just placing it on here and creating a network. So we can call this main, as I usually do. So main, and then we'll have a main in. This is a main out. I guess you can call it, we'll just call it main. That's usually the best way to go about it. And I like to make this one green as our starting network. And I will set it to public. So when I share the world, you guys have access to it, but you need to click it afterwards. And now we're good to go. I'm also going to bypass limit, as the plug is how you send power to create a quote unquote network. And then you use points to send power out. So for example, I can now place a point like on the bottom of this. And we want to make sure that this has a high priority. We do not want this to run out of power. So we'll select main. That should now be giving this power, as you see, which is perfect. Exactly what we want to see. And like I said, we want to set this on a higher priority. So I'm going to set this to a priority of 10 for right now, making it higher than anything else that we add on the cable network by default. And I've also gone up 3 blocks because this is where in Industrial Foregoing, we're going to need to set up a fluid laser drill. So now this is quite simple. If you show the area, you can see this is exactly 3 blocks tall, which is the perfect height for farming the wither. So I built up 3 blocks in between, place the fluid laser base directly on the top, and then I like to use some building blocks to sort of move out some of these lasers. They can, however, be placed directly in front of this, but I like to go out at least 1 block, like you see here, and then place in the laser drills. So the laser drill is going to go here. I'm also going to place one on top and on bottom, just making sort of a pattern like this. And yes, these will all work, because so long as this fluid laser base is within the range of the drill, which is a 3x3 directed directly in front of it, then it will work and it will send power to the fluid laser base. Now, the more of these that you put on here, the faster it will go and the more it will produce. As of right now, I'm just using 12, but you could have this whole thing surrounded if you really want to. But I want to try first and just use 7 of them and then use upgrades inside of each of them. So I do have 12 of my tier 2 add-ons, as that's all we can get in this pack. To upgrade these, you can shift right click while I'm flying here, and I can just pop them all in. Now, the cool part of Flex Networks is we can actually see what the power dynamic looks like here. So whenever we go into our network statistics, we can see that our machine here is consuming close to 4,000 RF per tick, 4.4 thousand RF per tick, give or take, and we can see that here on the graph. And so yes, this thing is going to cost you roughly 4,000 RF. Before you put the wither in here, you definitely want to make sure you get your logistics set up. So I'm going to be using some ender tanks on the top. I'm going to set this to light blue. This is going to link 2 tanks together that also have light blue on them. And inside the machine, we can just simply configure this to say, hey, we want to send the fluid to the top. So we're going to have it push up to the top. Now there is something else we are going to need in here, and that is a purple laser. So at industrial, and we'll grab out or make a purple laser real quick. Should only take a second. And that is basically all we need. We put the laser in. Now we need to throw the wither in. This is also pushing to this tank. And then we need to tell the tank where to send items. Sorry, not items, wither milk. So just like the rest for all of our other fluids, I'm going to place my ender tank like this, place into the color, and then on this, it auto exports if you flip this little wheel. So now this will auto send into the container below it, which happens to be this fluid drawer. Now, one other thing we can do inside the fluid laser base is place in the efficiency upgrade in here. And so it's going to reduce the time that it takes this to process through by 20%, which is nice, also making everything else a lot nicer. I think this is it though. So just to double check, we need to take a look at ether gas before we actually get this going. Purple lens is required, dimension does not matter, and also Y value does not matter. Okay, so we are good. We can grab some skulls. I have 3 of them here, and we need to grab soul sand. And we're gonna need a few of that. And then we just need to build the darn thing. So something that I usually like to do when building like a wither in a tight space like this is to just break out these sections, place in where you want its feet to be, and then place its heads in like this, and it will stand straight. It may not be looking this way, but you can't really control that. That is all based on everything else. Nice. We just get wither butt direction. And then after it's done, we close it in. The wither should stay perfectly contained in this position, and nothing should be happening. Like, we should not see an explosion. We are perfectly fine. And that right there is collecting wither farts. And as you can see, we now have ether gas slowly building up, which is what we want to see. Now with a little decoration later, this is looking pretty good. So yeah, I ended up using some of the cyan anti-blocks in here with a little bit of glass surrounding in the top, and threw in some inrods in the middle to kind of give it that glowy particle effect. So now I think it's time to focus on how we can get our hands on infused dragon's breath. And this is not as bad as you might think, because essentially we just need to replace out all of our glowing hell shelves that we have out here and kind of replace them for the echoing hell shelves and things like this. Now, the one thing we are going to need is a warden tendril, and we can actually get warden tendrils by just completely slaying the warden. And I think at this point, that should be really easy to do. I mean, just open a couple of chests, you know, do a few things in here. That should definitely spark a warden to spawn in. And yeah, this should definitely spawn the warden in, no problem, right? Come on, where are you at? There you are. Beautiful. And this should be really easy for me to take out. I think 1 crit probably. 1 crit. That, oh yeah, this is a thing. This giant's glove just giving me 50% bonus on all of my stats is just wild. And so I may have gotten a little bit carried away with all of the looting and such. Yeah. So the thing that is going to really make this work is making sure you can make at least 1 echoing skulk shelf. We don't want to go too crazy here because this is going to give us 10% quanta. And as we noticed on this, we can't have our quanta going above 30. So we are going to have to reduce this in some way. So now the goal here, we should be just fine. I do have this Eterna up to 70 by placing these guys in. And so now I put the echoing skulk, that should bring it up by 10, putting us now at a total of 80 Eterna. However, we do have 20 quanta. That might be fine. We do have reductions on quanta with these amethyst clusters that are few that are nearby. So that's definitely helping. But I think with just that alone, this is enough. We should be fine. We can take Dragon's Breath, toss it in here, and now we can make infused Dragon's Breath, and as much as we need. But now we need to get into something a little strange. To be able to make a life stone, we are going to need a soul stone. This seems pretty straightforward. Actually, we have all the hearts we need for this, but we do need a blank slate to be able to make this, and some melons. This is all quite easy for us to get. But the body stone, this one is very interesting, requiring farmer's delight in a cooking pot with cooked bacon of all things. How dare they? But we are going to have cooked bacon, and we also need to make ourselves a hamburger, and need the blank slate for this too to be able to make a body stone. Yeah, I think here questionable decisions were made. It's very, very weird. We'll say that. I guess we're making good soup. Now, to be able to make that blank slate, we have to make the magmalith item from FTB and to combine it with some Deepslate with some temperature that needs to be 350. We're completely fine. I think we're at about 1,000 holding strong there. But thankfully, we only have to make one of these because we can actually replicate this. So this is one of those nice things that we can replicate, and it looks like it's just lava and double compressed basalt. And I mean, we have a basalt chicken, so double compressed basalt. I mean, that should be very simple, right? It's just 9 compressed, and now we have a double compressed. And I'll just toss some lava in here, and then toss that in here. Was that? No. That I'm completely getting it wrong. We place that in there. Then we need to select our lava, and voila. And so we are making magmalith. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. And I'm definitely replicating this right off the bat. I just take my little chip here, throw that in there. It's going to consume it, but learn it. And now we can make as many of them as we like. Oh, you gotta love replication. Beautiful. All of those are going to proceed into the replication chambers momentarily, and just make more. Now, I don't know if I'm going to need to automate this, but there we go. So we have ourselves a stove that just works as a campfire, basically. And then we have our cooking pot, and that is just about it. I do need to set up my auto crafting recipes for this. But other than that, we are ready to rock and roll. I'll throw that down into the world engine. Now, I will say, if we are going to have to automate food in some capacity, that is going to be quite the journey. Thankfully, most of the things from Farmer's Delight can be easily automated. Not saying the cooking pot is one of those things, but automating the cutting board is quite simple. Now, what I will say is the hamburger is going to be quite simple because all of these things I actually got set up and we are auto farming. So I believe it's all over here. Yes, I went ahead and got all of my cabbage, everything basically farmed up. All the things from Farmer Delight is right here, even rice. So food inside the garden cloches, I mean, this is straightforward. Oh boy. So yes, taking like raw beef is something that we can hand cut. And I'm going to do that for right now, but it does look like a precision sawmill can also do this, which I find to be kind of hilarious. So Farmer's Delight, we put the food in the offhand, the knife in the main hand, and we just simply right click. Yep. And that will auto farm this for us. And by the way, if you wanted to automate this process, you can just put the knife inside of a dispenser, and the dispenser actually cuts the meat on here too. That's pretty cool. And the same goes for making bacon. We can take raw pork that I have from not killing pigs, because I would never do that, and the exact same operation. We just turn it into bacon though. I will say though, this recipe is such a side quest. Like, I don't get it, but there we go. So there's all of the items inside of a cooking pot, and we are now cooking. Was that the joke? Was that the whole joke? And there's one piece of the puzzle, a body stone. And what's funny is we do have our chest piece. This would be really nice to get as it does keep you fully saturated. But yes, it is included in the chest gem piece. Now, I am definitely not using yellow hearts for this. We can use red hearts, and those are easier to come by. Boop. By the way, I recommend definitely burning these items as well, as we may need them down the road, and they are replicatable. Now, funny thing, after doing this and putting this in, I just realized I can't craft the stones. Not yet anyways. We will be able to here in a second, but soulstone, look at this. I don't have any coprocessors available because this uses a ton of bytes, and I didn't realize this at first. But yes, this is something we can solve, but it does require us to get into mega cells, because even in the base tier, we would have to add and make our CPUs quite larger in size. But instead, what I can do is I can take, for example, this storage, and I can replace it with a mega one, and it gives us a lot more space. So down here, we have all of our co-processing units, but these crafting storages is where it's at. So 1 million is going to be a lot. We may have to go higher than that though, but not too difficult. All of this stuff is just requiring us to tier up from 256. I mean, one of these basic setups, I mean, that's going to cost a lot of processors. Hope this thing is ready to go. And there we go, a 16K, just like that, all ready to go. Now, upgrading these, you can shift right click and it'll pull out the prior cell that was inside. But yes, we are replacing this with a 16 mega cell, I do believe. So 16 like megabytes technically. At least that's how my brain likes to think about it. I believe it's 16 million bytes, right? So now that we have this, the stone should be doable. And I'm hoping that the stone and also the Dragonheart replication should be doable. As each of those would be 32,000 times 8. Yeah, that should be able to also duplicate that. Shouldn't be a problem whatsoever. And there we go. And so with that done, crafting the Dragonheart should be doable and 100% doable here. So I'm going to send all of the ingredients there and we're going to throw that into the world engine. We don't even need to go to the world engine to see this happen. And we have all of this stuff, ether gas, Fortron, that should all go in the correct slot. So I believe. And now let's craft a Dragonheart. It is missing a life stone for some reason. Life stone. You're kidding me, right? I just had this. Oh, that's right, because I'm a complete goof. Ah, yes. We have to combine the stones together in order to make that stone. So we just throw these in a crafting grid, and there we go. We now have a life stone. Which, by the way, did you catch that? Did you catch how cheap this thing is, by the way? Look at how cheap this is compared to the others. Right, but enough funny business. Now we can craft the Dragonheart, and then we just hope and wait. And once we have this thing, we can start replicating it. And that didn't actually take that long at all. And now, Dragonheart, there we go. And the first thing I'm doing with you is sending you into the replication box. Very nice. I have 6 slots, by the way, left in this memory chip. But there we go. Dragonheart done. And can we request another one? Okay, so let's first, before we can actually autocraft, we need to remove the crafting recipe that we just set up in the world engine. And now we can request. And we can make as many Dragonhearts as we need. Beautiful. This is all going to replenish itself, by the way. And if I need to speed this up and make sure that even more is going in here, I can just throw in some of my red matter that I've just been building up in my system. Now with the Dragonhearts, we can take this and now actually craft up awakened draconium blocks. So this is going to take a little bit of time. We're going to get ourselves some draconium blocks. But once we have the awakened draconium, we can do other things with it. Specifically upgrade all of these to Draconic tier, but it's also going to allow us to make tier 9 seeds. Yes, we can actually upgrade to tier 9 seeds because all we need for this are some chicken souls from tier 8 and awakened draconium ingots, which we are now producing. This is going to give us the ability to upgrade our seeds, which I definitely want to do. And so, voila, awakened draconium blocks, and specifically awakened draconium ingots. And I tell you, this is so much nicer being able to craft it like this in the world engine. I'll just throw in my required ingredients here, and Draconic, and we are going to hopefully be able to, to upgrade 12 of these almost instantaneously. Wait, it's saying that my fusion injectors are not correct. Is it because I placed them down? They're in here, but the contents are saved. It shouldn't have any contents though. As much as I thought I was going to autocraft them, definitely was not. So throwing all of these items in and letting it rip. And this is going to let it upgrade. Yeah, Applied Energistics doesn't play well with things that have like weird MBT data, like specifically for auto-crafting inside of processes like this. But now after all of that, Draconic fusion injectors, and we have now completed this stage. Look at that. Beautiful right here. Now, I will say, as much as I would like to, I don't know, sit around and potentially wait for autocrafts to happen, considering I would need to sit here if I wanted to make my own and also supply this quest, I would need to have to craft 189 times to reach the amount of awakened draconium needed. Yeah, even if it was autocrafting, that would still take a while. It just takes a little bit of time to make those. I think there are better ways of doing that, which is going to push me into this side, believe it or not. I'm surprised these are not more linked together. This is interesting that this side is linked to this one, but I guess it is all to technically craft this down here. And like I was saying, the chicken is the thing that I really want, but to be able to make the awakened chicken, you need chaos fragments. What? So yeah, that's technically going to push me down the other line where we are going to need to get ourselves a chaos chicken. No, regular chicken, milking the ender chicken. Yeah, that's definitely something we're going to have to wait to do like next episode or something. So you know what? I could just have this passively crafting while I potentially start working on upgrading the seeds for the chickens, that is. So no, I think for right now, I'm just going to go with like one of these. And to be able to do this, I mean, if we divide this by 4 for just the awakened draconium, it's like 95 crafts that are going to have to take place in order to make this. So that also means 95 dragon hearts and also 570 draconic cores. Yep. So this autocraft is going to look a little bit like this. Inside these hoppers, I have 64 plus 61, and I believe that should be enough. And the way we can trigger this to automatically start crafting is by giving it a redstone tick. And so we can tick that by placing some redstone next to the actual crafter, and it's just going to do its thing. And it's going to take this and go through 95 individual crafting cycles. And the goal is we should end up with all the awakened draconium for this craft inside of the barrel here. And it's just going to keep looping this over and over again. While that's running, let's make this top tier, well, roost seed. Now to make this top tier seed, tier 9, we are going to need those chicken souls. And the way that we can get the tier 9 chicken souls prior to having tier 9 chickens is by using the world engine and taking 3 of these souls, and combining them with awakened draconium, which is kind of in the sort of spirit of what we're currently working on. So let's grab some draconic, and I have these, and so it's 3 for each of them, and we are going to need 4 as of right now, and I just simply need to toss them into the world engine. So let's head there. How you doing? And we are going to throw them in bit by bit. And there we go. Now I have all of the seeds that we are going to need. Now, something I also need to do is probably get rid of all of the seeds that are currently inside of these machines. And for right now, I'm going to take this, swap it out, let it generate some of these seeds so I can swap all of these down. And then I just need to simply void out all of the seeds that are in this containers. I mean, voiding them out may not even be necessary because this should just drain these containers as it kind of produces resources. And there we go. It essentially just finished up and instantly refilled with 8,000 of these. That's wild. But now that we've got ourselves some tier 9 seeds, we can now start to make some tier 9 chickens, which I'm pretty excited about. And so excited, in fact, that I've made a slow melter and started melting up some beef here, turning it into meat, which is going to be required in most of the chickens that we're going to craft. After getting those seeds done, let's check up on this. Is it finished? And it is. It is definitely finished. There's 380 of our awakened draconium that we crafted up because we did 95. But technically, we don't need that many. We really only needed 378. But of course, you have to make those even amounts. Now, we're also going to need a ton of draconium. Thankfully, we have a chicken for that, so that's actually not too bad. But yes, it does say that we are going to need a lot. We got that part done. And it says, balk to it then. Oh my goodness. So it'll only work with an active energy. Recipe requiring this upgrade will only work with an active energy core. That's interesting. So now I just need to prep all of this up. There's another one done. I believe it was 32. And then we need 786 of the draconium blocks. 786 total. Not too bad. It's only like 7,000 and we have like over 1 million of the draconium. Voila, that is now done. Oh boy, we should be able to click this. Give me something good. We got an energy collector, MK3. I mean, that's not too bad. I believe this all leads us into the MK3. And voila, tasks are done. This is starting to look more like a world engine. This should allow us to craft certain things that require this to be at a tier 8 level. Beautiful. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and well, give this video, guys, a huge thumbs up. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and well, without further ado, it's now time for me to thank the amazing supporter that made today's episode possible. And that amazing thanks, well, that is going to go out to Carson8. Thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting my content in one of the best ways possible. You absolute boss. Thank you so very much. And guys, I look forward to seeing you all in the next one as we work our way through beating this mod pack. And as always, thanks for watching.